There's a growing call for the release of all residential school records, including those of children who died there. But in the Northwest Territories, information isn't easily accessible because the records aren't stored here. NWT Chief Coroner Garth Eggenberger says records prior to 1967 are housed at the Government of Canada's archives in Ottawa.
We've only sifted through the records from 1967 and on. There are some records that were brought to Ottawa at 1967 that were a little bit previous to that. Those are housed in the Prince of Wales Northern Heritage Centre.
In September, Eggenberger explained this dearth of data to the hearing with the Standing Senate Committee on Indigenous Peoples.
Some of the records that we have for the cases are 1 or 2 pages. That's it, you know. Around 1967 and before, they were really, the coroner's office wasn't a sort of a standalone office where the records were sent to a primary office. That started happening in 67 to 75. And then the quality of records going forward dramatically picks up.
The Senate committee has been holding public hearings to fulfill a commitment they made in their interim report, honoring the children who never came home. The report was released in July. Prince Edward Island Senator Brian Francis chairs the committee. He says the nationwide hearings are taking place to find out why governments, churches, and other groups are withholding records.
A lot of it comes down to the lack of financial resources to do the job promptly and expeditiously, and also the lack of human resources to to dive into the records and present them to the people that need to have them, and also jurisdictional issues.
There were 14 residential schools in the Northwest Territories. And with limited access, the coroner's office does not have the records for all those schools. So far, they have identified 6 children who died in residential schools or a federally run hostel. But are they the only ones? Eggenberger says obtaining records on all the children who died in these schools and associated facilities without the death certificate will take time.
If they were, for example, in the residential school and they became sick, went to a hospital, spent time in the hospital and died, then we wouldn't have a record of that. So that's a sort of falling between the crack.
The Chief Coroner's Office says they are now working with the Roman Catholic Church and Vital Statistics and the NWT. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.